But within that, there is, for me at least, if you want to understand a person, all you have to understand around empathy. So I don't really know what this video is going to be about. It's very obviously the first one on this channel. And I'm sorry for the resolution, but saving space on my phone is kind of a priority at the moment. I don't have much. I just deleted like 100 photos earlier today to even save space so I could work on a Excel document. No, Google Sheets, I don't know what I'm saying. I didn't really have space, and Google keeps popping up with one of those reminders. There's like the blaring ones like, oh, OneDrive, not OneDrive, sorry. But they'll say something like, oh, get Google Gold or Google Premium, whatever, and boost your storage with Google Photos. And when I go to clear the storage today, I'm looking at it and it's like, you have used your 15 gigabytes. 14 of them are on photos and videos, and I'm like, damn, I must have some like long ass videos I just haven't deleted yet. And alas, they are very much like, I look at each single photo and video and it's like 1 megabyte. I'm like, how many are there? I've had this phone for like half a month. That's just not possible. Lo and behold, it was still, I should probably continue holding it like this. Lo and behold, it was still porting them over from, sorry about the camera. It was still porting them over from my old phone. I didn't know it was going to share the two. Then again, I think that's just me being stupid. Anyway, the actual topic of this video, which is something I've been actually thinking about for a while. I'm making this content in this channel more as the sense, and I'm actively interested in philosophy. And even if this isn't strictly philosophy and more of me just rambling about my thoughts and trying to somewhat piece them together, it's something I've taken interest in, and more of me trying to cement my ideas. And for me personally, I have, and I guess I consider this the actual start of the video, but I have an issue. I'm not going to say actual issue, but I need to put my gloves on. Give me a second. I have an issue where a lot of the time, when I'm talking to someone about something, I can get very deep into the idea and actually start to philosophize about it. But then when it comes to actually sitting on my own, thinking about these things, my brain almost feels like it's at a dead end, in a sense. And one of the days I was just on a walk by myself, and I was explaining the idea, well, just out loud, as if there was an audience. And I was much more capable in the senses of actually, A, expressing, and B, solidifying, confirming things to myself, being able to complete these ideas, which is what half of it even is. I mean, it goes hand in hand with the saying, oh, if you figured out what the problem is, you're halfway to solving it. And as corny as it is, and almost wrong in a sense, because it's not solving the problem, it's just identifying it. Now you actually start solving. Whatever, I'm being stupid. Today I wanted to broach more on the subject of individual versus societal norms and morals. Well, not just societal, but just morals in general. Because it's something I've been struggling with. Not struggling, I'm not trying to figure out what morals are. I know what morals are. But I've been struggling more with the sense of handling moral situations and moral problems. It's one of my personal things is that I do not want people to get hurt, in a lot of situations. And I don't say this in the way of I'm this grandiose person, so selfless and wants to keep people from getting hurt. It's baseline. all humans are selfish beings. We all are. I am. It's great. It's it's really something. But within that, there is, for me at least, I mostly feel bad myself when other people are hurt, whether it be due to my own actions or someone else's. And since, hey, I really don't want to feel bad about it, the only way for me to achieve that is through keeping other people from getting hurt. I just want to frame that first off, so I don't just sound like, I don't know, pretentious, or like I'm a great person, which will probably be broached on in a different video, but I really don't think I am. But I guess, why not broach on it now? A lot of us, and I mean this goes along with the other saying, someone's worst critic is always going to be themselves. If you couldn't tell, these videos are going to be very not centered or focused at all. Maybe later. But one's worst critic is always going to be themselves. And it's not to say that we're right with how much we criticize ourselves. It's to say that we get a more sense of a full picture. But with the way the brain works, and we work as people, is, first off, when it comes to judging other people, we'll never be able to, because you can never fully understand another person. You can guess at actions, you can identify patterns, but you'll never be able to truly understand someone else. And the same applies for your own self. The fact of the matter is, you'll just get much further. But the issue with that is, a lot of people seem to, no matter what you say, whether you say, oh, I know I don't understand myself at all, or whatever, there's a natural propensity to have more negative feelings towards yourself. Just because of the way you live things. You know your real thoughts about something, and it's also, we naturally, some people, without knowing it, will recognize that selfishness in themselves instead of realizing it's natural and stems from a survival instinct. We'll say, this makes me inherently a bad person. I can't see myself actually caring or being moral for others. And it's unfortunately just not the way we work. I mean, maybe out there's some moral savant who's able to be completely selfless. But the fact of the matter is, that's not most of us. We don't get to be that person. It'd be great if we could. I'd love to be that person. Because it also allows you to identify with something for sure. I mean, in reality, we don't get to know ourselves much. And so we usually latch onto these things that we can say for sure about ourselves. And then we'll define ourselves with that. Whether it be a lot of things that people do, right? Like having what is quote unquote considered to be a mask around others. Changing how you act or behave based on who you're around. And for some people they don't. And that's genuinely inspiring. It's something I'm currently working towards in a sense. But for most people, that's just how we behave. You know, as a species, we are meant to socialize. We are social beings who strive to fit in and be social in situations. Some of us aren't able to, whether we be introvert, extrovert, whatever. But a lot of the times we'll try to. And to do that, different opinions are made. And I really don't, of course, fundamentally, and if you take it from a logical standpoint, yes, there is an issue with that. But when I think about it and personally rationalize it, not for my own behavior, but for just everyone in general, I realize so much of these things that people change their quote-unquote opinions on are, of course, all constructs of our society. And the things that technically don't really exist. So I find it really hard to judge someone for doing that. Because it might also just be things that they don't really care about that they're changing around others. There's points in our lives where we realize the things we actually care about and will have opinions that won't change around other. I was holding down the power button. Oof. Or whatever button that was. Oh, it's that one. Okay. Never mind. I'm stupid. Oh. As I was saying, we as people will find things in our lives that we actually give a shit about, to say the least. And I mean, a lot of it is giving yourself time, which is, it's the hardest person to do that for, admittedly, is to give yourself the space. And as I've been learning, it's vastly more difficult to give yourself time and understanding when you, because it almost feels like you don't have to give time to understand yourself. You should inherently understand yourself, right? That's just what it logically would seem like. Hey, I'm me. I know. Like, but you don't. You don't really. And so that's what I tie this into, is a lot of the time, as quick as we are to judge others, I believe we're even quicker to judge ourselves. And it's not a matter of how harshly, but it's just the speed at which we do. And then we'll ponder and think of, and then probably after a while, I mean, there's definitely confirmation bias involved. Like, oh, I do this all the time, blah, 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 blah. And then figure out some standard that you've held yourself to, not even a standard, just something you've seen as a behavior within yourself. And then usually, since it's oftentimes difficult, and I'm not saying this goes for everyone, but for a lot of people, they'll look for the negative end of that behavior and say, oh, this is a bad thing. Because also, as people, we are oftentimes striving to improve. Always pushing forward in a sense. For better and worse, admittedly. But that's what leads to the funny thing, which is morals. So much of what we base how good a person is, how good I am, how good they are, it's all based on a construct of ours. Whether we respect people, how we understand people, almost a worldwide system of morals. And you have to think at a point, I don't know how I'm wording this, but to me it almost feels like it isn't a construct. Like, admittedly it is, and that's just a fact. But it's something that's so universal that there is right and wrong decisions, morally speaking. Not because, of course, there's always right and wrong decisions, which is actually subjective. But there's always this idea of right and wrong morals. What is the right decision to make? What is the wrong decision to make? How it affects others, how it impacts them. And morals being that, A, we cannot function without them. And B, what are we without our morals? Not even strictly speaking of functioning. Okay, the hiking path I was going to take is completely, like, snowed over. I don't know if I can. Unless other people have been walking. Oh my God, thank you, people. Someone walked on the trail before me, so it's kind of, snow is stomped down a bit. A lot of the morals, and I mean, like, I was talking to, well, not talking to, but when I was in philosophy class, the professor was saying a lot about morals, and then also he mentioned, completely unrelated, of course, how we look at and define ourselves when others ask. Like, a lot of the time, we'll define ourselves with what our job is. And so, who are you? Oh, I'm an electrician, yada, yada, yada. Oh, I'm a plumber. I work at Wall Street or whatever it may be. And that has nothing to do with you. You know? So much of what we relate to ourselves never actually has anything to do with us. Which is why it's so funny when you start digging a little deeper than jobs or family and that kind of thing, you hit morals. Because it is what defines us. Your morals define your behavior and actions fundamentally. The way you choose to react to things. And of course, all of these morals are based up and built off of who you are, quote unquote, as a person. Because they're built off of your experiences throughout your entire life, which is unique to you. Maybe not each experience being unique, but the collection of them that you have is unique to you. And in that sense, morals are our only way of defining ourselves. And I don't agree with so who are you? Well, I play video games, yada, yada, yada. That's superficial. But when it comes down to how you care about others, how you behave, how you interpret emotions, and how you act off of them is who you are. Because fundamentally, you are your reaction to situations. Baseline. Without doing the whole meaning of life thing. But when it does come to morals, those are the one defining thing you have, in a sense. Because if you follow them, that's its own can of worms. But if you follow your morals, then they are the guiding principle to who you are. They're your rule book. Oh my God, that's such a cool idea. I just came up with that. And it's very surface level. But fundamentally, your morals are both your guide and rule book to life. Oh no, the snow's getting in. That's not good. Chill spot though, low-key. It also kind of looks the same this way. It's just a pause in the big forest trail I'm taking. But I'm going to elaborate in a second. Is that the button? Oh, yeah. Okay. This walk is going to be very bad if my feet are cold and soaked the entire way back. But I guess with that idea, if we're going by your morals and ethics are the fundamental guide and rule book to who you are as a person. Because, oh my God, this is back to the mask idea. Sorry, the ADHD is really something. But back to the mask idea, which was one of Shakespeare's philosophies, that we are, and it kind of shows in his plays, but that we are all actors on a stage, in a sense. We are all just masks. There's no sense of a real self. Then we shouldn't be asking who we are. We should just be asking, which mask do we use the most? Or for some of us, which is our mask? Because some people just use one, you know? And if we go off of that, then we just have to look at the guide for that mask. And if you want to understand a person, that's quotation marks, but I have like full hand gloves on. If you want to understand a person, all you have to understand is the morals that they play by, in a sense. Because, sure, you aren't going to get the little intricacies like, favorite game, whatever. Am I doing this right? Yeah. You aren't going to get a lot of the intricacies of a person that way. But that's a decent chunk, I'd say. Like, if I can find out someone's moral code and ethics, assuming I ask them and they're completely honest and give me all the details I need, then I can almost solve problems the way that person would. Because I can solve issues within their moral line. Then that's asking another bigger question, which is, not does everyone have the same set of morals, but does the idea of morals have the same meaning to everyone, you know? Because for me personally, morals are everything I live by. Since I personally, despite what I may have said here, do consider myself, not consider myself, but I do consider there to be a real version of myself. It's just that I can't, it's nothing I can't, I don't know what I'm saying. I consider there to be a real version of myself, but I feel like the one that I'm normally acting on is one that is different from me, you know? The mask is a different person. It's the one you guys get to see here. This is the mask, in a sense. But the only reason, and I guess for everyone else, the reason they have the mask is it's more of who they want to be. The reason I wear this one is because, and this is an idea from my friend. This was not, I did not come up with this. But if there's a version of you want to be, a chunk of that battle is just acting like it, you know? Because after a while, actions become normal and turn into behavior and routine. So if you want to be this person, you just have to start, not be this person, not like, I'm not trying to like be someone else. I guess I am. But if there's a version of yourself that tree is creaking up a storm. Please don't explode. Can you hear that? I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's loud. Got me a little nervous. But really? Like, that's literally what you're not supposed to say. I've probably said it like 100 times through this. I bet it's like atrocious to watch. But there it is again. When it comes to being this character you have in your mind, because everyone has this idea of who they want to be. The entire part of the journey there is just acting like it. And then I get to become that person, which is my own interpretation. Past few years, I haven't been the greatest person, and this isn't me being like, oh, I'm making big change and I'm doing whatever. It's more of, by my own set of morals, which I've been more recently, I mean like the past 2 years, more recently developed. I was not the greatest person because I've had recently my eyes opened to a lot of things in my life and a lot of things in the world in general. But in that, I am now wearing this mask for the hope that one day that it isn't one, you know? And maybe it doesn't ever stop being a mask. How if I'm gonna stop wearing it though? You know, I'm just gonna keep going with this because A, it makes me feel better about myself. That's most of it, by the way. I feel better about myself when I behave like this. Behaving like this takes more effort, which is why I call it a mask to begin with. It takes more effort from me, more time from me, more energy in general. And it is not how I would naturally react. Let's make that clear. And from that, almost dropped it. And from that, there's this notion that this mask is better towards my morals in terms of helping others, in terms of being able to be there and support others. So this walk and talk will get better the more I do it. I have much deeper opinions on them, and I'm just struggling to get there in a sense. Because it's like, to me, it's very easy to get to the complex parts of it on my own. But when I want to explain it, and I know maybe like one person sees this in its entire time on YouTube, but I want at least to get this massive breadth of thoughts I've already had on it, and it's so widespread. It's like, it's honestly a filter in a sense. There's all of this, and I want to narrow it down to one specific topic. But since it's such a subjective and opinionated topic of conversation or just thought, to narrow it down to my version of my idea of it, there's so much I feel like I need to go through and to explain and sift through first. Which is what I'll continue to do. But now that I've selected this mask, so to say, I've been working towards it. And a lot of the behavior has become subconscious. It's become normal. It's felt like this is really me now. And I'm very happy about that. I'm sure there could be issues with that. And there are inherently, I mean, along with the idea of you never can truly understand something unless either it's explained to you really, really well, or B, you experience it. And since I've never experienced behaving like this, now that I do, only now can I see the issues and problems that arise from it. Because with this moral code, I messed up. I said, in every situation, moral situations, which is what most situations are, they deal with morals and your own thoughts and opinions on things. I want to make the morally correct decision by my sense of morals that impacts the least amount of people. And that impacts the least amount of people because say it's a positive impact, then hell yeah, I'm going to go for that. But negatively impacts the least amount of people. And that has already put me in a situation in which there are two separate sides of a coin here. Now, I have no clue where I left off there. Siri is being the bane of my existence, and I'm going to turn that butt off. I'm going to turn the butt off. I'm going to turn that button off when I get back to my dorm, because, wow, that's pissing me off. But where I think I left off was no matter what I do, someone's getting hurt, okay? In my current situation. And right now, I am justifying the decision I want to make. Actually, that should not be the first one on the list. I'm figuring out what decision I want to make because it's now extremely complicated to me because I'm not thinking in a sense of what do I want, because that's not what the morals follow for me. That's not how I feel. I feel along the lines of this action would hurt this person in what way, And I'm actively trying to figure out which decision hurts people in general the least. You know? And I also am unfortunately stuck with the obligation of this decision is so severe that I have to sit down and explain to the side that I end up choosing to negatively impact why I made the decision I did. Sure, I don't have to. And there's the option to ghost people. But realistically, that's not really an option. A conversation has to be had here for the amount of respect I have for myself, and I think that I, as a person, should. And it would be a step towards the person I want to be. But also because I believe this is another person who is deserving of my time and my explanation, because they're someone who I did and do consider a friend, and it's someone I can no longer really be a friend with, which is really not fun at all, because it is someone I care about, but I am not afforded the luxury of picking both sides, so to speak. It's not actually picking both sides, and I don't want to say to the people involved, you're making me pick a side, because that's unfair to them. But it's by another one of my morals, which is, could I continue being friends with someone if me being friends with them is hurting other people, right? Sure, me stopping being friends with this one person hurts them, but by also remaining friends with them, I'm hurting more people for longer. And so, I guess although I said I'm struggling to make the decision, I know what the decision I need to make is, and I'm struggling to admit that to myself. And as well as verbally, I might be saying, yes, I've made my decision. I know what it is. Clearly, I know what it is. And I know what I not have to do, because I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know what action I have to take. It's more of me getting in my head that this is the decision I made, because I still don't fully understand my own reasoning, and that's why I'm going through this. It's half the reason I even decided to record this video today, and I'm hoping to make this a daily thing. I think that would be very interesting. It won't be morals and life meanings and philosophy quotes the entire time. Maybe some days it'll just be me rambling about whatever. I don't know. It's because, and I know some people go on this and they'll think, I'm going to become internet famous. I ain't no 1%, cuh. I'm just a regular person. I'm probably not even going to bother editing this. I'm just going to slam the clips of it together and upload it. I can't be asked. This might be more of a video journal, so to speak. I say so to speak a lot, but this may be more of a video journal than anything. Anyway, continuing with it. Now that I know what my decision is, there's admitting to myself that I've made that decision, continuing through with the decision, and then sticking with the decision so I don't hurt other people further or continue to hurt the same person. Because I know we're going to go the different way. There's very few truly mean things that you can do. Like, truly mean. And please don't try and counter me on that. You're going to just... But there are things that are extremely mean that you can do, and one of which is disconnecting yourself from someone, whether it be moving on in your own life, moving on from being friends with and being connected with them, especially if they don't want to be, or if they want to be, and then after a while going back and trying to reconnect with that person. Not like I'm not saying like 7 years down the line saying hi to and trying to catch up with and reconnect with the person, because honestly by that point you're different people. Oh my god, really? But when you do try and reconnect, even if it's like after a month, say I hurt this person by leaving and not continuing conversation and communication, or continuing to be their friend because it's hurting other people by doing so, then after that I try and get back with them, as not relationship wise, I'm not dating this person, but get back with them as a friend. You know, like, oh hey, I know I kind of just cut you off and left you in the dust there, so to speak. Not actually going to do that to them. I want to have a sit-down conversation with them, explain why I'm doing this. And even if they aren't a fan, or they don't understand, or they don't agree with me, I feel I owe it to them, in a sense, to have that explanation be there. And maybe it's not as complicated as I'm making it to be. That's always a possibility. I don't know everything at all. But I do owe this person that. And then for me to then say I become friends with them again down the line, that's unfair to them, because that's just causing them hurt for no reason. And that's me not sticking to my decision. If you're going to make a decision, think about it. Switch sides on the decision all you want, right? Sit in the emotions you are feeling and figure it out. But once you have committed to the action and made the decision, you are no longer afforded the right to go back on that. And if you do, and I'm not saying this objectively, but in my opinion, by my moral standards, you are being morally bad. You've made a morally bad decision. You made a bad decision. You are now hurting people. Because this isn't someone I can go back to being friends with, ever. And it's not about whether I like it or not, you know? It might not be, oh, I feel this way, I miss being friends with this person, I can go back with them. Because no matter what point in my life is, that would just hurt someone. Because of what's happened, and I'm not going to get into that, because that's personal. Not just to me. If it was personal just to me, I'd share it. But there's other people involved. And honestly, if someone from my school finds this channel, which I doubt would happen, but if they did, that could make it interesting, especially if they know what I'm talking about. Because I'm not sure how much of this I've shared. I'm not a big sharing person. Anyway. I mean, I guess that's all my opinions on that one. Not all, because I don't want this to be over an hour. But, you know, the whole thing is, for me, my morals centering around empathy and understanding, accepting, respecting, and being there for others. And the reason that was such a morally hard decision for me here was because the reason I was still friends with this person, even though it hurt others, was out of giving them a second chance. Because I understand where they're coming from. The other people in the situation don't want to involve themselves with them anymore. But I understand what happened. That's not to say I know what happened, right? Because I could be wrong. The other people in the situation could be right about them. I don't know for sure. But because of that, the fact that I don't know for sure, and they don't know for sure either, they've made their decision on this person's behavior, and have said, yes, they said it the way I wouldn't have. They said that this person is a bad person. which I wholeheartedly disagree with. I don't really think there's many genuinely bad people out there. It's just a matter of perspective, especially for the person who is bad. Usually it's just bad to whoever. But it really is difficult for me because of that. And I look at it and I think, this person could just be making mistakes. Like hell if I haven't made that many mistakes before, you know? Or that bad of a mistake, if not worse of a mistake in my life. And I wouldn't want people to see me make that mistake and go, that's a bad person. I don't even want to remotely associate with them, you know? This goes back to an idea of treating people the way you want to be treated, but it's a little bit more than that. It's also common understanding. You know, they've made mistakes that most people have. And I guess it comes full circle here with the talking about masks and stuff. But some people, you know how like, and I'm not saying this applies to everyone, but I'm saying it definitely happens. Have you ever had an interaction with someone and then in a group where the group is making fun of or bullying or whatever behind that person's back, and you join in that because it's almost a fear of not being seen as part of the group, you know? And like as morally righteous as it may be to then, hey, say, no, in that situation I would stand up for that person. And that's a part of the characteristics of the person I want to be. But realistically, that is not who I am yet. I think right now, either I would just say, yeah, with it, or just not involve myself in it. But previously in the past, I've made that mistake before. I've made fun of someone because the rest of the group was doing it. And I think it's a mistake a lot of us make. And that's a mistake this person made. They had someone in their life who did a lot of making fun of and bullying of others. And I think the only reason they ever said anything that they did was because of that. And sure, that doesn't excuse the behavior, but also it does, you know? It's a mistake we all made. Who knows, we would have made the same mistakes in that situation. And I just don't think it's fair to judge someone off of that. Yes, maybe some of the things that they have said have hurt you. And I'm not taking away from the fact that it has hurt someone, you know? It's them saying that has definitely hurt someone. And if that person the person they've hurt doesn't want to associate with them, that's completely fair, right? But so I find out they said some bad things about me as well. I have a different reaction. I don't care what they had to say about me. Not really in the slightest, because I'm not going to judge them off of that, because I understand the mistake. And I haven't seen them make it since, so I have no reason to judge them off of it. It's not saying, like, and that's what they're asking for, have you seen this person change? Because I wanted their perspective on it. That's why I'm making the decision in the first place. But they said, have you seen this person change? I haven't seen any change. I'd love to see this person change. And to myself, I go, it's not necessarily change, but I've seen no repetition of past mistakes. So I can't say it's change, but it's not the same way it was before, you know? The person who was originally perpetrating all the negative things that this person carried on isn't there anymore. And since then, I haven't seen them say these things. They just haven't. They've been a caring, an understanding, normal person, and I feel, and the fact that I do have to judge them here by it, and I do have to make a decision to cut them off. It's just unavoidable. For the sake of other people, I have to do this. But hand is forced. And I do hope they understand when I talk to them. And that's why morals are so iffy. And I'm not saying I'm right, because I could be wrong. This person has, in this incident, hurt my friends. And sure, they are one of them, but they still hurt my friends. I'm actually taking my fingers out of the quotations. Hurt me. And I'm still friends with them, you know? Like, an argument against myself. Imagine someone hurts you, right? They say mean things about you. Maybe they perform negative actions against you. And then one of your close friends just continues hanging out with them, you know, buddy. That hurts. That's not what a friend does. But because of my moral positioning and how I've explained it already, I've continued to stay friends with this person, whether it be the right or wrong decision. And I do feel I'm going to try my best with this to not favor my point of view. I mean, of course, strictly speaking, that's impossible because it's me making the videos and doing all this. But if I can avoid trying to push my bias into it, which when we're talking about opinion is almost impossible. But then there's also talk about with my bias for a while, but then at least express some other opinions on it. I feel would be the best way to go about it. Honestly, take what you will from this video. This one was just a lot about morals. Because morally for one person, I've made an atrocious decision. But then morally for me, I'm at a crossroads. And one other person I talked to actually said I made the right decision by continuing to be friends with them. Because it's forgiveness and acceptance. But also, my counter argument to that, because I don't want to just support myself the entire time, my counter argument to that is maybe I'm not the one to be offering them forgiveness. I have a lot more to think about this, clearly. But let's see. I'm in college. I have ethics class tomorrow. So if we go over anything really cool there, I'll talk about it tomorrow. But I gotta figure out my topic. Okay. If not what I go over in ethics tomorrow, I'll talk about the meaning of life. That's a pretty simple one. Contrary to popular belief. It's simple. God, I have to remember to keep saying this, but it's simple for me. That's what it is. Okay. See ya, champ.